Hello, welcome to today's video. We are now on page number 22 of the uke book. This is lesson number 5. We're learning more and even more chords. So take a look here at the chords that we're working on today. So far we know about C major, C6, G7, F. Now here we see G7 there. Of course, finger number 1, 2, and 3 are placed on these 3 frets. But now let's take a look at the chord very closely related to this G7. And the chord is called G. Okay, so we have to rearrange our fingers a little bit. Let's go ahead then and take finger number 1 and place it on string 4 there, string 3. We're going to place finger number 1 on fret number 2. Okay. Finger number 3 will come down here. Finger number 2 will come down here to string 1, fret number 2, and then finger number 3 will go ahead and play string 3 there on fret number 3. So notice that every single one of these fingers is holding down on a fret. Make sure that it holds it down well so that each of the notes plays very clearly. Sounds good. Alrighty. If they all sound clear and they're open, let's go ahead now and strum the chord G. Just like we learned previously, it's important that we are able to come to this chord with all fingers at the same time. So let's go ahead and start off by getting to know this chord, holding it, learning muscle memory, and then lift, drop. Lift, drop. Not lift entirely, but it means to simply release the pressure against the strings and then drop again. So that's the preparatory way of getting to know this chord. So we loosen it, tighten, loosen, tighten, loosen. When you loosen, this is how it would sound, but when you tighten, it sounds like a G. Loosen, tighten, do this a few times. The next step would be to actually remove all 3 fingers at once and come down together. Up, down, up, down. It may take some time for us to be able to bring all 3 down together, but eventually you want them to come down together at the same time. That may have to do one at a time, but that's okay. We're still getting to know this chord here, G. Let's move on to our next chord here. Okay, so we have here a few chords that are quite interesting. Let's take a look at the first one here. The first one is called D. Now you may notice here that D is going to be fingered 2 different ways. The 2 ways are either fingers 2, 3, and 4 on fret number 2, that's the way I prefer actually. It's kind of hard if you have this little soprano uke because the frets are very tiny. If that's the case, then another way is, as you can see right here on the edge, take finger number 1 and only hold it down like a bar. But you would still need this note open, like that. That's kind of hard for me to do, to hold that note open. Therefore, I like to hold them all 3 down like this. It may become necessary, instead of using the pads of your fingertips, notice that the bottom note there is the same as the top. All A. Okay? So you may have to use the nails in order to bring them down clearly. So when they're all comfortable, whether with finger number 1, which is not my favorite, or all 3, 2, 3, and 4 like that, let's go ahead and strum downward a little bit. A few times to get to know it. Once we have learned that chord and we've strummed it a few times, let's go ahead and do the loosening. Loose. Loose, loose. Now coming down on this chord may be a little bit easier than G because they're all in a row. Try to keep them together, but it's very, very careful. Be careful not to come down with finger number 3 on fret number 3. It's only supposed to be fret number 2. Just like that. And so that's D chord. Let's move it on over a little bit here. We now have 2 more chords here. I'm actually going to move it down since I can't really see there. And notice that we have the chords D7 or D7. They're both the same. So it says here either you can play with finger number 2 and 3 like this, or if you'd like, you can bar that chord like you did before and bring finger number 2 down like this, which is a little brighter and a little higher of a tessitura. So either like this, or bar chords may prove to be a little bit more difficult, but I would like for you to please practice the technique we've done before of loosen, tighten, loosen, tighten, loosen, tighten. Come down and up. Then, same thing with the bar chord. This one may be a little bit harder because it requires holding down quite a few more. And make sure when you play bar chords that you hold them tightly down enough so that they all sound like a note. Very good. So that's D7, either the lower one or the higher one. Let's go ahead and move on. We've got 3 more to go. Next we have A chord. A chord, as you can see, is kind of like the F chord, except now it's going to be 1 and 2 right there. Finger number 1 there, fret number 1. Finger number 2 on fret number 2 of string 4. Let's play this a few times. Loosen, tighten, loosen, tighten, release, down, release, down. That's the way we always learn our chords, is A. Moving on over, same as D7, A7 also has 2 different variations. The easier one, obviously, is going to be just that one right there. This is probably the one we're going to be most comfortable with. Or 2, 3, a little bit higher of a tessitura sounding, more thick of a sound chord. So either A7, 1, or 2 down like this. When practicing, please remember the loosen, tighten, or release, down, for both variations. So as you can see, these chords are getting a little bit more complicated and complex. I know there are a lot of them, but when we practice, let's try to practice for understanding and memorize them, please, okay? So try not to go or rush through these chords when learning. Learn them properly. Loosen, tighten, release, down, both of them until you're ready to put them down with our first song at the bottom of this page. And we'll learn more about the song at the bottom of page 22 at our next lesson. Until then, let's get to know these chords well, and we will see you at next lesson.